Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Wow, last night's upload was truly terrifying, but amazing all at the same time. I'd first like to thank the subscriber who allowed me to narrate her uncle's encounter and her late grandfather's encounter with the Dogman in East Texas. We also had a couple of encounters with something called the Red Devil in the LBL, and some unidentified possible Dogman, possible Sasquatch encounters. Tonight we're going to jump down a different rabbit hole. A rabbit hole called speculation. Where does the Dogman come from? Some say it comes from an alternate universe. Others say it was flesh and blood and here all along. Then it could be some sort of shape-shifting black magic shaman. Or was it created by the government? Genetically engineered super soldier. Before we get into this, a couple of links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are all in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that really don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give them a listen. You may enjoy what you hear. I also started a GoFundMe page to help raise some money for decompression surgery I'll be having on December 3rd. I'm going to give you guys a brief update, very brief. I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I have severe neuropathy. The medicine that I'm on is not working, and it's actually hurting my kidneys, liver, and doing some damage to my body. I have no immune system, so that's not a very good thing. Holistic medicine doesn't work for me. It may work for some others, but not for me. The next course of action is surgery. My insurance is covering 90%. I'm responsible for 10%. A subscriber suggested starting a GoFundMe page. I did. And that GoFundMe page has raised $1,800. And with the money I have in my bank account, I'm roughly $2,400 short of what I need. I was 2.5 weeks ago looking at how I'm going to come up with $6,700. $2,400 does not seem bad at all. So I want to thank everybody who has generously donated to my GoFundMe page. Thank you. I want to thank everybody who has sent their well wishes and prayers my way. Thank you. This means the world to me. So thank you. If this GoFundMe page is something that you're interested in helping with, the link is also in the description below. Now I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with these Dogman encounters, shall we? Is the Dogman a genetic engineered super soldier? This idea has been propagated since before the era of Adolf Hitler, who embarked on the search for components necessary to create a hybrid super soldier. There were many experiments that took place in effort to achieve this goal, but all of the accounts relate that there was very little success in doing so. With the defeat of Hitler, there is speculation that scientists that worked under his control continued their search for the ultimate super soldier when they were recruited by the United States. We know that many scientists came here after the war and continued their work. It is possible that the advances in genetics have extended the capability to science to create these beings who have both human and animal characteristics. Now this sounds very much like something from a sci-fi movie, but recently there have been reports of scientists accomplishing the creation of genetic chimeras. It stands to reason that governments and militaries across the world would be interested in this capability, creating something that has the best attributes of a known animal would be something that is not only scary, but intriguing at the same time. This encounter possibly may shed light on the Dogman being a genetic engineered creature. While I was living in the rural area, I began to have encounters with Bigfoot creatures. The majority of the time, I would see them at a distance, and I would always steer clear of them when I was out hunting or hiking in the woods. The encounters or sightings were frequent, and this was very interesting to me because it seemed like the area was densely populated with these creatures. I had to tell someone about what I was experiencing, and I decided I was going to call a friend and relate the events to him. I did, and he found it interesting as well. That evening, no more than 3 hours after I got off the phone with my friend, I noticed a strange vehicle in the area. This wasn't your standard SUV, truck, or car. This was an MRAP-styled vehicle, and it drove right past my house and into the area where these creatures frequented. Later that night, there was people with flashlights spotted in an open field that didn't have anything in it. These men were spotted because they were heard yelling back and forth to each other like they were searching for something. This back and forth banter continued for a few hours, and then it ceased altogether. The next night I happened to be outside after dark to retrieve something from my vehicle. It was a clear night, and you could see all the stars in the sky. When I turned to walk back to my house, I happened to look up at the sky, and I could see a large, low-flying military aircraft gliding through the sky. It glided past and out of my view, and there was no sound emanating from the engine. This seemed a little odd to me, so I stood there for a while. And about 10 or so minutes later, it passed overhead again. Same scenario, gliding low at treetop level, and no engine sound. This was very strange because I got the impression that they may have been looking for something via a scan of some sort. I questioned why they may have been doing so over privately owned property, but had no real idea what was going on. It isn't uncommon to see military flights in this area, and I passed it off as some kind of training or something like that. Across one of the fields near my home is a very old, unused barn that is in the process of being reclaimed by the trees, brush, and vines. I had long suspected that the Bigfoot in the area might have been using this structure to shelter in, because it's rarely visited by humans, and it would be a perfect spot for them to hide out in. I'd never gone to this structure to investigate because I felt it best to leave them be because they weren't really bothering anybody. After 4 days or so, these weird people and events taking place, it seemed like things had calmed down. One night, myself and my friend walked out under the stars to stargaze. We were standing there looking up at the sky, noting how clear it was and that you could see every star in the sky. The dogs were walking around doing dog stuff, sniffing and peeing. So we're standing there by the edge of the road looking up into the sky and marveling at the massive expanse of the universe. We began to talk, and I happened to glance down the road. When I did, I saw something sleek, low to the ground, and extremely fast run across the road. It was running so fast that it almost looked like a flash of movement. In my mind, I was telling myself that it had to be a deer running from something, or that it had been spooked. It ran in the direction of the old barn, and I figured it was an old buck deer that had been spotted bedding down in the area of growth near the barn. I didn't think anything else for a few seconds. I turned to tell my friend about the deer, and when I turned back, that's when it was standing back at the edge of the road where it had crossed. It was huge, dark silhouette of what appeared to be a werewolf-type creature. This thing was huge, and it was about the size of a very large grizzly bear or bigger. It stood there on all fours, with its head turned towards us like it was looking directly at us. I'm seeing it, and there is silence coming from my friend until I ask if he can see it as well. The reply was quick and a short yes, I see it, and let's get out of here. I had a flashlight, and I decided that I wanted to get a better look at this thing. So I turned the light on and shined it directly on the creature. I don't know how, but as soon as the light hit this thing, it disappeared. There was nowhere to run, because it was standing in a wide open space, and if it had taken off running, we would have seen it. As I shined the light on it, the dogs became aware of it, and took off running down the road in the direction of where the creature was standing. They went down to the exact spot where the creature was standing and sniffed the ground for a minute or so before returning back to us. I know I wasn't seeing things because the dogs went to the exact spot and sniffed and growled around the area. How this creature had simply vanished remains a mystery to me, and has me scratching my head until this day. After that night, there seemed to be a steady decrease in the overall activity from the Bigfoot creatures. I can't say that it's the result of the Dogman being in the area, and I can't say that the Dogman was in the area due to military presence that was spotted in the area either. All I can do is relate the events as I observe them. We have no idea what kind of technology exists and what flavor of gadgetry is being used by the military and governments around the world. It is my opinion that discounting stories like this could be a mistake. There are reports of technologies that were being used in wartime environments that cause people to hallucinate and hear and see things that weren't actually there. Could this be a factor in why this creature was able to disappear, as it was reported? Before we move on to a couple of encounters, I want to touch on something. Normally I do it at the last minute of a video, but I just want to touch on this. Could it be that the Sasquatch population in that area, and by the way, the area was Oklahoma, was getting too high, and the military released a Dogman type of creature to decrease that population? Or, no, this is a big or, was the military there because of the population of Bigfoot and Dogman? But the Dogman actually, when the light hit it, was able to go to the alternate universe of existence, the other plane where it exists as well, and not be seen. That's a couple big ifs and what ifs or whatever. The military could have just let this thing go to, wipe out the large population of Bigfoot. Kind of like a cover-up. Happens all the time. Or a alternate plane of universe. There's been claims that a portal, there was a hunter in Skinwalker Ranch area, claims that he was hunting and he saw a portal open about 20 feet off the ground and a faceless, terrifying creature drop out. Now, the hunter ran back to where he came from. Who's to say that just only one came out? And who's to say that there wasn't one of these portals where this population of Sasquatch were? So the Dogman, maybe it being its natural enemy, got dropped and decided to fight right there. I don't know. I just find it really interesting. Two really good speculative views right there. Anyway, let's get back on with the encounters. Today's second encounter is another military one that fits right in, and you guys will see shortly why I say that. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It was nearing the end of our basic training rotation, and we had a few things to do before we graduated. We were to go on our 3-day bivouac in the wilds and then come back a couple of days before the actual graduation. We road marched into the location that we were going to be camping in, and we set up our campsites. There were shelter half tents scattered periodically through the area by the time it was starting to get dark. We went through the standard procedures that you follow when deployed before bedding down at night. I was in my tent and fell asleep fast. I must have been really tired. I have no idea how long I was asleep for, but I woke up. I was lying there, listening, and it was eerily silent. Something didn't seem right, and I couldn't quite place my finger on it. I decided the only way I was going to know for sure that everything was okay was to get out of my tent and see for myself. I exited my tent feet first, and upon standing up, I turned and was almost face to face with what I presumed to be another soldier. I stood there for a few seconds, trying to figure out what this weirdo was doing. There was no movement, no sound, and no indication that they were concerned about me being there. In a low whisper, I asked, "What are you doing?" There was no response, no movement, and this person just continued to stand there. It was fairly dark, but there was enough moonlight that I could make out a clear silhouette of this supposed person. I began thinking to myself that maybe they didn't hear me, and I asked a little bit louder, "What are you doing?" Still no response and no movement, and I started to get a little concerned. All of a sudden, I started to hear the sound of footsteps on the dirt roadway that was just 40 or so yards from my tent. I turned to see what was going on, and I could clearly see that it was another company of trainees moving into the area. I watched them for a few seconds and then turned back to what I thought was a person standing there. They were gone. No sign of them anywhere. I heard no movement from them. It was just like they disappeared into thin air. There were plenty of leaves and tree limb debris in the area that I'd surely have heard them departing my area. I'm not saying this was a ghost, Bigfoot, Dogman, or any other type of cryptid creature. I don't know what it was, other than creepy as hell. Right there. That's how it fits. 2 sudden disappearances with military involvement. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Really makes you wonder. Because if something was there, which there probably was, and these troops were coming in, they'd have to have some sort of light with them. Possibly the light hit that person or creature, and it disappeared, just like the Dogman did. It's very, very, very interesting to me. There's a lot of weird shit that just happens on a day-to-day basis that we don't know what it is, what it could be, yet our government and military takes it upon themselves to screw with the unknown. How fucking crazy is that? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this upload. Tomorrow I've got an amazing West Virginian cryptid encounter to share with you guys, and it's going to be a long one. And with that, I just want to bid you farewell. Thank you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.